Okay, real talk. Staying consistent is hard. We all start strong, then life happens. Boom, motivation gone. No quick fixes here, but I've got some straight-up advice to help you stay on track, dodge distractions, and laugh off the setbacks. If you're tired of starting over and want to finally see some real progress, stick around. Let's get into it. Consistency is, hands down, the secret sauce of success. You know that dream version of yourself? The one that crushes goals left and right? Yeah, that version is just you, showing up every day, even when it sucks. It's not flashy or exciting, but consistency is the bridge between where you are and where you want to be. It's all about discipline, that not-so-glamorous best friend that's always telling you to get off Netflix and do the thing. The tricky part? Consistency isn't about those big, bold moments. It's all the small, boring ones piled together. It's showing up at the gym on a Tuesday when you'd rather be at home with snacks. It's sticking to your side hustle even when no one's watching. All those tiny actions add up, like drops of water that eventually fill a bucket. Without consistency, even the best goals just stay scribbles on a piece of paper. And here's the thing. Discipline and consistency work together like peanut butter and jelly. You can't have one without the other if you want to get anywhere significant. Digital minimalism can help here too. Cutting back on those constant phone distractions means less time lost in mindless scrolling and more time for the stuff that actually matters. Less noise, more focus. That's how consistency thrives. Now, it sounds simple, but I won't pretend it's easy. Life has a way of testing just how committed you are, right when you're feeling your weakest. And yet, sticking with it, even when every part of you wants to quit, is what makes the difference. Consistency is tough love, but man, does it get results. So, here's the truth. Staying consistent is really tough. Like, way tougher than any motivational YouTube montage makes it look. If you've ever Googled how to stay consistent hoping for some magic trick or that one perfect piece of advice, well, you probably found out the hard way that there's no secret sauce. Turns out, there's no video that makes you want to wake up at 5 a.m. every day and crush goals forever. Trust me, I checked. Staying consistent means dragging yourself to do the work, even on days when your brain is like, nah, we're not feeling it today, buddy. There's no life hack that makes this feel easy. It's not about one moment of motivation, but 1,000 tiny stubborn decisions to keep going. Consistency isn't flashy. It's repetitive, it's boring, and honestly, it's hard as heck sometimes. There's no aha moment, just a lot of days where you just keep showing up. Digital minimalism is a huge help here. Seriously. Getting rid of those constant notifications and tiny dopamine hits can clear your head and make it just a little easier to focus on the things that actually matter. It's amazing how much your mind stops fighting you when you aren't constantly checking your phone for a quick dose of distraction. It's like giving yourself the gift of silence, and suddenly, that to-do list doesn't look as scary. But let's not sugarcoat it. There's a reason people quit. It's not because they're lazy or lack willpower. It's because consistency is genuinely hard work. It's pushing through all the internal and external noise. It's finding a way to keep going, even when the results don't show up right away. And yeah, I know that's a lot. But trust me, getting past these challenges is what makes the eventual success feel like pure magic. All right, here's a fun one. The classic misconception about hard work. Most of us start out believing that if we just work hard enough, we'll see instant results. Like 1 week of effort, and boom, we're transformed. The problem is, reality has a different game plan. You put in the hours, and at first, nothing. You lift weights, but your muscles look the same. You write, but no one reads it. It feels like you're just sending all this energy into a void, hoping for an echo. That expectation, that hard work will immediately equal success, is a bit like planting a seed and then getting mad because there's no tree the next morning. Growth doesn't work that way, but we're not really taught that, are we? We think it's supposed to be fast because, well, that's how we see it online. Everyone posts their before and after shots, but no one shows the long, messy middle. Truth is, the middle is where it all happens. The doubt, the struggle, the part where you wonder if anything is actually working. And listen, it's totally normal to get frustrated here. We've all been there, standing in front of the mirror after a week of workouts, thinking, where's my six-pack? The magic, though, is in keeping going when you can't see the results. It's about letting go of that craving for instant validation. It's about understanding that the tree doesn't sprout overnight. It's busy growing underground first, getting stronger before it shows any green at all. If you can hold on through this phase, the part where the effort seems invisible, that's where consistency really starts to pay off. It's like a slow burn that eventually ignites. And yeah, I get it. That's a lot to ask for when all you want is a sign that it's working. But trust me, there's a shift that happens when you start enjoying the process itself, even when it's a slog, and it gets better from here. Just wait till we talk about what it takes to stay mentally tough through all of this. Alright, so here's where consistency really gets gritty. It's about mental strength, and not the kind that's all positive vibes only. It's more like the kind that says, yeah, today was awful, but I'm still gonna try again tomorrow. Staying consistent means living in this weird space where you're always a little uncomfortable. It's not glamorous, and it definitely doesn't come with a constant soundtrack of inspiring music. When you're in it, being consistent feels like battling tiny doubts that pop up every single day. It's waking up and wondering if any of this effort even matters, then deciding that, yeah, it does. Those who stick with it are the ones who learn to live with the uncomfortable truth. Progress is painfully slow, and those bursts of joy, they're fleeting. You get a win here and there, but mostly it's you showing up while the world barely notices. Kind of like being the underdog in your own Rocky movie, but without the training montage. Loneliness comes into play here too. It's not always about people physically not being there, but more about how you have to push through when no one else can really understand how much effort it takes. It's that Saturday morning when everyone's out having brunch and you're at your desk, or that Wednesday night when you're the only one at the gym. It can feel like you're on this solo mission, but there's something strangely empowering about sticking with it anyway. And that's where the magic of consistency kicks in. It forces you to dig deep and find strength you didn't know you had. It teaches you that real mental toughness isn't about never feeling down. It's about knowing how to get back up over and over again, even when there's no one there to give you a pat on the back. And the more you push through, the more you realize you're not in it for applause. You're in it because you've decided that you're worth the effort. And let's be honest, that's a pretty big deal. Setbacks. The most unwanted but inevitable guests on this journey. In the beginning, you're all fired up, right? Like, new me, new habits, watch out world. But then, 2 weeks in, you realize the world isn't watching, and that transformation you imagined, still MIA. Honestly, that's when most people throw in the towel. You've been doing everything right, yet somehow your body feels like it's been hit by a truck, and the only visible change is more exhaustion. But here's the thing. Setbacks are part of the plan. Nobody tells you that up front because it's not exactly the motivational speech we want to hear, right? Imagine someone at the start of a marathon going, oh hey, by the way, at mile 16, you'll probably feel like dying. Have fun. But the reality is those early setbacks are like the body and mind's way of asking, hey, are you sure about this? If you can say yes, even when everything hurts or feels pointless, that's when you're building the real deal. Grit. Accepting setbacks is basically embracing the suck. It's about waking up after a night of tossing and turning and deciding, yep, I'm still gonna go for that run. Or sitting down to write even though yesterday's work felt like pure gibberish. Think of it like being in the gym. The soreness is proof that something's happening, even if it doesn't look like it. It's uncomfortable, sure, but it's also a sign that you're pushing past limits you didn't even know you had. And yeah, it can be a grind. The key isn't to love every moment. Nobody loves early mornings or the sting of failure, but to accept them as steps in the process. Setbacks don't mean you're failing. They mean you're in it. They're like plot twists in the story of you. And hey, every good story needs a few of those. Stick with it through the struggle, and soon enough, you'll be ready for what comes next. The surprising, slow victories that start to peak out once you've powered through all the tough stuff. Alright, let's talk about gym workouts because, honestly, they're the perfect metaphor for consistency. You know that feeling when you decide to start getting fit? Day one, You're at the gym, full of hope, thinking, yeah, I'm gonna be ripped in no time. Fast forward to day 3, and suddenly everything hurts. Muscles you didn't even know you had are begging for mercy. And the mirror? Oh, it's just showing the same old you, plus a little extra soreness. This is exactly what consistency feels like. At first, it's all excitement. You picture yourself crossing the finish line, all victorious and shining. But reality kicks in quickly. No six-pack magically appears, and instead, your body is just like, hey, let's make sitting down as painful as possible today. But here's the secret. Those sore muscles mean something's changing, even if it's not visible yet. It's those tiny, invisible changes that eventually add up to something huge, but you've got to give it time. Think of it like planting a seed. You don't dig it up every day to check if it's growing, right? You water it, give it sunlight, and trust the process. With working out or any goal really, it's all about the micro steps, the sweaty, uncomfortable, sometimes painfully slow micro steps. Eventually you'll notice that those dumbbells feel a little lighter, or maybe you can run a bit longer without feeling like your lungs are on fire. It's gradual, almost sneaky, how progress starts to show up. The trick is to embrace the soreness, the boring parts, and even those moments when you want to just binge on the couch. The more you push through those stages, the more you start to see tiny wins stacking up. And yeah, the changes might be slow, but they're real. That's how consistency pays off. Not in fireworks, but in a slow, steady burn that eventually lights up everything around it. And trust me, the best part? The moment when you look back and realize how far you've come without even noticing the exact day it happened. Alright, let's talk about this wild cycle that anyone trying to stay consistent knows all too well. You start out super motivated. Maybe you watched an inspiring video or read a quote that hit just right. Suddenly, you're unstoppable. Like, who needs rest days? I'm crushing this. And for a bit, everything feels amazing. You see some tiny progress, and it's like a jolt of pure energy. You're in the zone, and honestly, nothing can touch you until it does. Then, out of nowhere, the slump hits. Motivation takes a nosedive, and it's almost like the universe decides to test you, just for fun. One day, you're ready to conquer the world, and the next, you can't even muster the energy to conquer your laundry pile. It's easy to feel like you failed, but really, this dip is just part of the process. No one tells you that motivation isn't a constant. It's more like that friend who shows up late to the party, fun when they're around, but totally unreliable. The key here, as Sachin Sir would say, is to stop chasing motivation like it's some sort of magic fuel. Motivation is great, sure, but consistency is what gets you across the finish line. It's showing up on those days when you feel like a deflated balloon, and just doing something, even if it's not your best. You've got to accept that motivation comes and goes, but that doesn't mean you should stop. Think of it like riding a bike. You keep pedaling, even when the downhill rush ends and you're faced with an uphill climb. It's totally okay to feel stuck sometimes, but that's where the magic of discipline comes in. Consistency is like riding out all those highs and lows, knowing that eventually, the good days will come back around. It's a cycle, not a straight line. And honestly, if you can learn to laugh at those struggle days, they start to lose their power over you. You get better at saying, oh, here we go again. And you keep moving anyway. And the best part? Every single time you push through, you're proving to yourself that you can handle whatever comes next.